Respected chairs,
Question answer should be at the end of this.
We can do
You can
that.
save the time.
Yes.
respected chairs, audience, good morning to all of you. My paper is Peace and Conflicts Study from Buddhist Education. Actually, we have heard about the quotation of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Everyone knows that 21st century is Asia's century, but without Buddha's teaching, the century would not have been
are
ours.
also equally important. For that, spirituality has become an important aspect. So keeping all these in, focus area, I being the corporate social responsibility professional, I took this topic to study on. So to start the paper, I would like to explain in brief. I would like to tell about corporate social responsibility. What is it? Corporate social responsibility is the area from organization perspective wherein organizations are compelled. After the 2013 CSR Act, which has been launched by Government of India, minimum 2% of the profit should be given in terms of the community development or development of the society or upliftment of
society. And I also, because I'm always supported in the women's side. For the last many occasions, also I visited to many Tibetan nunneries and I got an opportunity to speak about the women empowering. So therefore, I thought this is the best topic to choose for this conference. And our conference is the topic on Buddhist education. So I thought the value of the education is important. But before I read my paper, so I just would like to say a few words regarding the development in values. Actually, Tibetan, the terms for Buddhism is called Nangpa. I don't know what it means in Buddhism, but in Tibetan we call it Nangpa.
You know,
Non-Buddhism.
environment is very, very important, and today environment is in danger, not only in India, all over the world. So first of all, what's environment? Simply put, environment is that which surrounds us, or that surrounds us is environment. So environment includes, scientifically speaking, three things: atmosphere, lithosphere, hydrosphere. Atmosphere, that is air; lithosphere, that is solid earth; hydrosphere, that is water. And atmosphere is again divided into 5 sections: troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere.
Language, Bhoti, then under that all these languages are falling into that. And we have to make the case strong. Then other thing probably in 2011 census में ये तय हुआ था कि we have to make awareness among the people, at least for the first time, one time. Please write your religion as a Bhoti. Sorry, you speak a Bhoti language. Whatever you speak, but you say, what is your language? Bhoti. ये campaign start हुआ था. Then we should reflect how many people are speaking this language. Because census people want certain number, but I don't know what's the exact number. So these things, they want this number of people, they speak this language. So it should reflect there. When the census report, the census, our population is reflected there, those who are speaking. This thing has happened in Himachal also, when they have introduced Pahari language. So they have requested our people to please write Pahari language. So the number was achieved because of that. Then what happened is that was those people who are speaking mentioned about Hindi is gone down. Then government
समताउने अनि सोसो घुम्न अनि सिने सेकी केगिरेस ताकि सिन दि पेथाप दि खादेस पे बोरलना कि पेथाप से दि को थप्सु से सुमिया चिगा सोसो लागा सु अनि गोपा छागा बिदान्याम गेवेसेंदा अनि लोकु मेना शेर डिटेल व्यापार योमाले त थमादिला मिउ देखाय बोलना थाबा दाखा जे के गोबां दे नाम गरम जनो का सांजे कि शेर बिता बेबत होवा तादि दिता थाबा दाखा जे के गोबां छपेला ता शोगेले
rose on years of field work through different initiatives in preserving and sustaining Buddhist culture and heritage in Ladakh. The cultural heritage may be defined as a way of life which has been inspiring its people to be at peace and in harmony with self, others, and the natural environment they live in. This way of life is common to people of all faiths, and while interpretations may differ, it manifests itself in shared values, institutions, systems, practices, customs, traditions, and attitudes of all groups of people. Qualities like a caring attitude, inner peace, happiness, concern for common good, respect for nature and its resources, mutual help and cooperation, self-respect, consensus building, and spirit of self-reliance, etc. must quality of life of the Ladakhi people is also as rich or even richer in the future. There is a large number of monasteries and temples in Ladakh housing varied types of Buddhist heritage materials like wall paintings, wooden carvings, thangka painting, manuscripts, metal images, textile, paper drawings, block prints, and so on. The monasteries have not only been a center of learning for Buddhist philosophy, history, literature, and language, but also a sanctuary for learning many Buddhist art and crafts such as paintings, wood carvings, printing of sacred manuscripts, calligraphy, sculpture making, drawing of Zen mandala, playing ritual musical instruments, and so on. The study of 5 major Buddhist sciences, language, logic, metaphysics, medicine, and art became course of study in the monasteries. The result can be witnessed in the Himalayan Buddhist monasteries and indeed in the large Tibetan cultural region that houses volumes of sacred texts which serve as the critical focus for spiritual and prayers conducted by the monks within the monasteries, and also secular texts related to founding of the monasteries or the life of learned teachers and founders of the sect, etc. The collection of all manuscripts housed within the monasteries are extremely valuable and precious. The Ladakh Buddhist chant, recitation of sacred Buddhist texts in the Trans-Himalayan region of Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir in India has been inscribed by UNESCO in the list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Besides this, the landscape of Ladakh is dotted with symbols of their Buddhist heritage, and the Chorten or the stupa is characteristic to the region. Stupa in Ladakh are religious structures venerated by Buddhists, and many of them said to have housed corporal remains of high lamas or mark an important place associated with the religion. My personal involvement in several projects on documentation,
majority areas. I have not covered the Mahayana area, means the western side of Arunachal Pradesh, because I have touched only the area where the people who profess Theravada form of Buddhism are living. So with a growing interest in the teachings of the Buddha worldwide, in recent years, there is an increasing need for a sound Buddhist education system to impart knowledge of Buddhism to the upcoming generation, at least those who profess.
To realize the ways of reducing dukkha as explained by Buddha regarding the surroundings. These actions can be supplemented by relating facts about children's efforts world over, including India, in stopping local environmental degradation and redeeming the natural state through changing the bad habits. An illustration I will be giving, which is a very current one, the children of Bali and the plastic ban. In Bali, Indonesia, the sustainability-oriented Green School is taking an active role in encouraging students to solve real-world problems. This has led to the real-world results. In 2013, Sisters Melati and Isabel organized a plastic bag ban campaign in the province as a school project. 2 years later, after a petition that included thousands of signatures and a brief hunger strike, they and their fellow students got a commitment from the governor of Bali to ban the bags province-wide.
People Sangha, senior scholars in the audience, distinguished scholars on the dais here. With your permission, I would like to make a presentation on the KJ Sumaya Center for Buddhist Studies, an institute which I have been associated with from 2008. I took my PhD from this center, so strictly speaking, I'm associated with it from 2003. Also wanted to clarify that actually I had submitted this under the heading of the theme of importance of Buddhist syllabus, researches and courses. Somehow it has been slotted here, so please bear with me if it is a little bit, the theme itself is not very well in sync with what my distinguished colleagues here may present. One of the reasons I thought in this theme I would present about this, our institution is that it is a very unusual institute. It is perhaps the only one of its kind certainly in the Western region, precisely because it is funded entirely by a private trust. It does not receive any government funds whatsoever. And that becomes, as I will show you, quite a strong limitation. And yet it also presents certain areas in which then we can operate with.
It is referred to the belief that does not supplement our knowledge and intelligence, and hence falls under the category of wrong belief. In the Buddhist way of practice, there are 10 non-meritorious deeds, the basic of the moral practice that everyone has to follow. Further, these 10 are divided into moral practice of body, speech and mind. In the third category, the non-meritorious deeds of mind, there are 1. Covetousness, the eagerly desirous, especially of things belonging to others. 2. Ill will. And third, wrong view. The result of this wrong or false view are having gross desires, lack of wisdom, being of dull wit, having chronic diseases and blameworthy ideas. So, then if we use the first analogy, swept by the current of 4 powerful rivers, if we are using this imaginary of 4...
Mr. Chairperson, distinguished and coherent speakers, other scholars participating in this seminar and students. It is very pleasurable and meaningful opportunity for me to share some of my thoughts on management of emotions in Buddhism. Advantages of identifying negative and positive emotions. What are negative and positive emotions? Benefits of getting rid of afflicted emotions and how to get rid of them. And actually the fourth one is associated with the second point, which is what are negative and positive emotions. The fourth one named emotions. Then it is impossible for oneself to manage skillfully manage one's own emotions. So therefore, the first point is advantages of identifying negative and positive emotions. and emotions. No, I mean, peace and happiness cannot be achieved by prayers, miraculous powers, magic, or blessings. They can only be actualized through the skillful management of negative emotions and generating the causes of positive emotions. In order to develop this realization and familiarization with the emptiness of referent object of the ignorance, which is continually grasping at inherent existence. In Arya Shalisambhava Sutra, Buddha says, quote, "This happens because that exists. This happens because that is produced due to ignorance, compositional activity arises in it." These verses indicate that all produced things must have causes which are characterized by three attributes: impermanence, functionality, congruence with their results. Without knowing whether a specific emotion is affected or not, one cannot determine whether that emotion should be nurtured or eradicated. Therefore, it is essential for individuals to correctly discriminate by applying introspection. Once the causality between problems and the afflicted mind is revealed, then one can move forward in seeking remedies for the problems. Managing emotions means alleviating negative or afflicted emotions.
And all of you are invited to go to the same place where we had joined together. On room number 2. The new menu or the old one? Oh, you have to go to left of your hand, who are sitting behind, on my right, room number 2, for the tea break. And that is break for 15 minutes. Please, thank you for the time being. We have other people after the break. Thank you. Respected chairperson, हमारे सीनियर ये हैं, कुछ उल्टा पुल्टा करूँगा तो वहीं से डांटना शुरू भी कर my teachers, ladies sir, and in the crowd, UNS scholars like Dr. Sriyangra Chaudhary and Sri Bhavchand Jain, our colleague Rajesh Ranjan, and above all, you young chaps before us. And also, I also go before Venerable Bukhi Bhikkhu-san. ये तालियां बहुत कुछ कहती हैं, लेकिन मैं आपको ज़्यादा बोर नहीं करूँगा. मैं ये आपको विश्वास दिलाता हूँ. Topic of my paper is modern challenges and solutions through Theravada Buddhist education. Our society is facing different kinds of problems, and in most of the cases, solution is eluding as root causes are becoming deeper and deeper. Everywhere there is depravity and corruption, nepotism, fanaticism, religious fundamentalism, and egoism, etc. are creating divide in the society.
Late due to non-availability of the taxi there at our hotel. So, without taking any time, may I invite Dr. C.V. Verma, ex-chair ICCR for Buddhist Studies in Cambodia, visiting professor PRS Buddhist University, to present his paper. The title of his paper is Fundamental Buddhist Pedagogy. Very interesting topic.
Actually, it is not properly printed. Even my name is not correctly printed. It is C.B., not V.
Okay.
All right?
So better you
yes, we will just go further. Because the title is Buddhist Pedagogy, and the fundamentals of Buddhist pedagogy. Many theories are there, and they are all very interesting. So, just to begin with that, simplicity is the watchword of Buddhism, and the Buddhist pedagogy is meticulously based on such parameters. Buddhist pedagogy, or the theory of the methods of Buddhist teachings, is embedded in the analytical principle of clarity, lucidity, simplicity, purity, authenticity, contextuality, with due consideration of the level of appreciation of the audience, as well as the exegetical expediency. Such methods have been elaborately Can this be slightly louder?
It's quite audible.
It is audible.
Such methods have been elaborately discussed in the treatises like Nittipakarana and Petakapadis, which enjoy the status similar to the text of the Buddhist canon. The Burmese tradition.
Founder of Buddhist education is the Buddha, who is regarded as Sattva, Devanam Pusanam, Purush Dhamma Sarati, and so many other epithets. He has shown his path to the world based on Shila, Samadhi, and Panya. It is the Buddhist philosophy, like Jain philosophy, which regarded ignorance as a great obstacle to emancipation. The main object of Buddhist education is to eradicate it through study, meditation, and training the mind. The distinctive system of education had begun to evolve during the lifetime of the Buddha. The education is a process of imparting knowledge and skill for refinement of behavior and acquisition of abilities which make it possible for us to deal effectively with all situations in real life and make it easy for us to adjust ourselves properly even if we move.
From the Jatakas only, as sir has already explained that I have written so many things on Jatakas, and this was the third book which Honhar, I will be presenting two for your library also, based on Mahaummagga Jatak, which I have referred to in this paper also, so I am not going out of context. Honhar is just a Hindi narration, because what I found in Jatak Katikathas is that the style which had been adopted by Buddha Ghosh or later on the other authors were there, it was a style of those times which is now difficult to understand very easily. So what I did was just to transform that and make in today's parlance, today's
We already know that Buddhism emerged as a religion nearly 25 years ago when Siddhartha Gautama got his enlightenment at the young age of 35. Now the basic aim of the religion was to make human being realize their self and their Buddha nature, which is same as that of feminism. And why I have included that, I'll explain it later. Further digging deeper, now the Buddhism has been divided into certain branches, 3 branches. First is Theravada, Mahayana, and the Vajrayana. Right? Theravada, Hinayana sect of Buddhism, also called as the way of elders. And the Vajrayana principle speaks of the things as they are. And lastly, the Mahayana Buddhism is considered as most liberal form of the Buddhism in current situation. Now with the great effort of Buddhist teacher, it started to spread in Sri Lanka, China, Japan, Tibet, and the West countries. Currently, there are more than 300 million Buddhists.
Any course of speech, trivial or gross, which in turn leads to their welfare and happiness for a long time. In such an ideal Buddhist monastic community, we could assume conflicts will not occur and conflict resolution method will not be required. But in Sam Gamsut, anticipating conflicts to take place in the monastic community, in his absence, the Buddha presented the 7 methods of conflict resolution, which were universal applicability of conflict resolution. That's all.
Question?
So I think it's high time for lunch. So I think there is no question of now is there any remarks. You see, altogether 9 papers were read, and all the papers were either related to Buddhist pedagogy or Buddha's views on management studies. That was the special paper.
Chairperson, speakers, delegates, professors and audiences. I on behalf of CISS would like to thank Professor Rajesh Ranjan for chairing the session and all the speakers for presenting your valuable papers and lectures, and I would also like to thank the audiences for being being patient and listening to the lectures, and also opening up our minds. Thank you.
तो उन्होंने खुद के लिए तो तपस्या तो की उन्होंने 6 साल तक बिना खाए पिए, शुरू में कम किए, फिर कम किए, फिर कम किए, लास्ट में एकदम छोड़ दिए और देखे कि अब मेरा शरीर ही खत्म हो जाएगा और मन जो है अपने अंतिम लक्ष्य की ओर नहीं जा रहा है। तो उन्होंने कहा कि उन्होंने फिर कुछ लेने का निश्चय किया और फिर सुजाता का पायस किया। उसके बाद जो बैठे तो उस समय वही वो संकल्प लेते हैं कि अब मेरा चाहे जो कुछ हो इस शरीर का, अब मैं इस आसन से नहीं उठूंगा। वो वज्रासन पर बैठते हैं और वो उनको उधर तो लाभ है। लेकिन इस सारे एक्सपीरियंस के फलस्वरूप उन्होंने जो भिक्षुओं का जीवन देखा, शुरू में आप जानते हैं कि भिक्षुओं के लिए भी कहीं कोई आवास, कहीं कोई क्या कहते हैं छत और इस तरह से रहने की कोई व्यवस्था नहीं थी। भिक्षु संघ जो था वो खुले आसमान के नीचे, जरूरत पड़ी तो पेड़ के नीचे सोते थे। तो